What's going on, everybody? Welcome to an episode of Just Another Year Chicago Bulls, a very, very special episode for me. I'm here with Haize of Chicago Bulls Central. And this guy, he's been like, it's real weird for me to be here right now. I've been watching this dude for years. He's been like a mentor to me in this game. He's offered me a lot of advice, a lot of really good encouragement. And I can't thank him enough for it. If you haven't seen any of his stuff, he is everywhere. If it's a Chicago sports team, Haize is covering it, or one of his or someone else on his team is covering it. Haize, it's a pleasure to have you, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for the invite, man. It's long overdue.
Appreciate that, man. You know, if I may be so bold, I think this will be the first of many of collaborations between the two of us. But to start off here, man, I would love to just know about your beginnings. Like, how did you get started? Was the Bulls channel your first channel that you started going on? And just kind of give me a backstory here.
So I've been podcasting for, I was just thinking about this the other day. I've been in podcasting for probably close to like 12 years now. So I actually started off on a wrestling podcast. There used to be this wrestling podcast. I think it was called LWR Radio, I believe is what it was. I used to do a live show every Friday, and I would call in as a fan every Friday. And then eventually one time they just asked me to like stay on because like his co-host was gone. And so he asked me to stay on. And afterwards, he was like, "Hey, you're really good at this. Have you thought about doing it?" I was like, "No, honestly, I haven't." And then so like I was a periodic guest there for a while. And then had my own wrestling podcast network, which is now like part of the Hameen Media Group. If anybody listens to those podcasts, a lot of those podcasts were ones that I started on. And after doing that for a few years, I wanted to do something more meaningful. And so I started my own podcast about mental health, culture, music, everything. And I did that for like 5 years. And almost over that whole time, I had thought about doing a Bulls podcast. And I was like, I'm not an insider. I don't have sources or anything. Why would I do a Bulls podcast? And it was a random conversation with my dad. I'll never forget it. We were just talking on the phone. He was like, "Why have you started that Bulls podcast shit?" I was like, who's going to want to listen to it, XYZ? And I don't know if I can cuss on here, so I'm going to keep it PG. But my dad basically called me a punk. It was a different P word, though, for not starting the Bulls podcast. And I started it 2 days later. And here I am almost 4 years later now. I've been doing it every day for 4 years.
Well, I love that, man. Yeah, I think if there's one thing that can get a man to do something, you call him that. And
especially from your father. Like, that's the thing, too. Like,
right. Like, okay, Dad. Yeah, we'll see about that. That's cool, though, man. And I mean, you've got so many different projects going on. I'm going to try to run through them all and stop me if I'm missing them. But I think it's the Chicago Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central, Chicago Blackhawks Central, Chicago Cubs and White Sox Central, NBA Central, Chicago Sky Central, and then Fighting Illini Central.
Yes. Now, I don't do Blackhawks, Cubs, or White Sox. Blackhawks is hosted by Skokes. Big Kev does White Sox. Sometimes I fill in on White Sox because I'm a huge White Sox fan. And then Mike does Cubs, but I do all the other ones. I think that's and then of course Locked on Bulls. Then I do Locked on NBA as well. So,
man, you're all over the place. Do you ever sleep? Is that a thing?
Yeah, not much, but that was even before podcasting. Like, I sleep maybe 5.5 hours a day. And I've done that since like middle school. So it gives me a lot of time for productivity.
That's fair. I think that's maybe why I hope to be cut out for the game as well. Cause I don't 5 hours is about right. And I feel like that's, if you want to grind and hustle to where you want to be, that's just a reality of the situation.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But so being a Bulls fan, is that like something that's always been, were you born into it? Like how did that work?
Oh yeah, definitely born into it. My dad's born and raised south side of Chicago. So like that's just always ingrained in me. Some of my earliest memories are watching Bulls games. Luckily, I was born into a championship team. So that was the lucky part of it, that I got to watch. And I thought it was always going to be like that. And then, around the age of like 12, 13, I'm like, oh, we're losing. What is this like? And that's where we've been since, for the most part.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Like I got to miss out on pretty much all of it. Like I only caught 1998. I was 8 years old when Jordan hit the shot. And so I remember that. And then, just thinking like the Bulls are awesome. They're always going to be good. And then having to put up with Marcus Fizer, I believe, and some of them other guys, Eddie Curry, RIP. It was a really rough patch. The baby Bulls were fun, and then Derrick Rose gave me back hope. But it's been a rough patch to be a Bulls fan, man. So I gotta know though, so we got the NBA draft coming up, man. And I would love to know who is your guy. Like if there's the one guy that you think the Bulls will be drafting and can be, and like you want them to draft. I guess a combination. Like, obviously you could say Cooper Flag, but it's not realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy that I have like number one on my board right now is Thomas Sorber is probably number one on my board. I think he offers the best mix of rim protection, defense. I think he's a solid passer as well. I think that's an underrated part of his game that people don't talk about as much, is how good of a passer that he is, because he wasn't asked to do a lot of it. I don't think he's as switchable as like the ideal big that I would want on that team, but Thomas Sorber is number one on my board right now. I think he has a lot more offensive upside too than people are willing to give him credit for. Asa Newell may be shortly there behind him. I think that my concern is, like, is Asa going to be able to play center? It's probably going to end up being more of a 4, and I don't know if Modest is yet ready to be a 3 full time. So that's a little bit of concern there. But those are probably the two guys that I have higher on my board, and then Carter Bryant probably third, somewhere around there too.
Okay, all right, man. I got a question from Undisputed here. It's not super serious, but he wants to know what shots you're going to do with him when we take CMB.
Probably throw a hat somewhere, but luckily there's no chance that the Bulls are going to take CMB. So there you go on that one.
Yeah, not a big CMB guy.
No, I'm not high on CMB at all. I mean, listen, I think that CMB is going to be a really good defensive player in this league, no doubt. I think he's going to struggle offensively to score the way he did in college. He's going to have to learn to adapt, and he may very well do that, but I'm not willing to waste 12 on that. And then as well, there's the position concerns. His best position is probably going to be center, but I don't want to bet on a 6'6" center. So,
yeah, that's I mean, that's completely fair, especially at 12. It's like, drafting PJ Tucker at 12. Like I just don't really. I feel like it's one of those things. If we had a later first round pick, I would feel better about it. But at 12, I feel like I do want more of a well-rounded offensive player as well. But he is elite on defense. I just also question if he's going to be able to do that at the pro level, like being so dominant. But it would be interesting to see how that works out. So Shy Bulls podcast wants to know about Noah. I've been saying Essengay. I don't know if it's that or Essengay, however you say that.
I've heard it pronounced Essengay, Essengay. I've heard it pronounced like a bunch of different ways. It's the unfortunate part about it. I guess we'll find out on draft night. I like Noah. I like Noah a lot. I think if the Bulls are going to go more upside pick, that he makes some sense there. But I'm kind of looking at players with higher floors. Not to say that they don't have upside, but I'm kind of more worried about the floor. I think the Bulls have looked at the upside, the ceiling so much that sometimes they forgot to think and consider the floor of a player. So I'm kind of more focused on players where I feel like they have a very high floor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm worried about that too. Like, I definitely want to grab somebody that's going to be able to produce like at a certain level, hopefully off the bat. I mean, but obviously our timeline is kind of down the road, so it's okay if they need to develop a little bit. But I agree with you on the floor thing. I have a question here from Tony from Jay. He sent me a question earlier. It's a would you rather question. So, would you rather make the Eastern Conference Finals 5 years in a row, but you lose every time? You get the excitement of the lead up, you never get the payoff. Or you miss the playoffs 4 out of 5 years, but the 1 year you make it, you go to the finals with no guarantee of a win or a loss. So you get one shot at a chip.
Man, I'll take the shot at the chip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, I need the shot at the chip, man. Like we're like if our franchise was better for maybe longer, maybe my opinion on that would be different. But like I need the championship, man. I need the shot at that championship.
That's very true, man. I need a ring, man. I need a ring in Chicago because it's dry out here. It's extremely dry. Want to do this? Let's see. From Neil from C-Red UK, as he wants to know who you want the Bulls to take a shot on in the second round.
Ooh, that's great. I actually just did an episode. No, I think it's uploading here in like an hour. I did an episode on second round players. So it's fresh on my mind. Johnny Broom, Kobe Bria are ones. And then what's his name? Salas is his last name. Why am I blanking on his first name? I'm blanking on his first name there. But those are the guys that I think I have in the second round very high on my board. The problem is all those guys were slated to be around where the Bulls. Hunter Salas, that's where. See, I'm old. So what happens when you're almost 40? But those are the three guys that I have highest on my board right now in the second round. The problem is that all those guys were slated to be right around 45 where the Bulls were going to pick at. Then all these second round picks started going back to college and going back overseas. So now it's going to be a little bit tougher to get those guys. But I think for toughness, rebounding, and just a player that just has super high floor is Johnny Broome. Johnny Broome to me is like the Taj Gibson in this draft. I think that he could be a player that you could get in the second round. I know Taj wasn't a second round pick, but you can get in the second round and that he can eventually, depending on the situation, turn into a consistent starter for you or one of your favorite players off the bench. Johnny Broome, I think the city of Chicago would love the type of player that Johnny Broome's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, anytime you got a player named with the first name Johnny too, it just rolls off the tongue, man. Chicago will embrace that guy. But Alonzo Anderson has a question here about AKME. So how do you feel about AKME getting another crack at it going forward?
So I had to take this from the rational mind because the Bulls fan of me is like, hey, why do we keep rewarding mediocrity? That's where the Bulls fan of me. Casey Johnson came out and said that it goes to the end of the 27-28 season. So it's basically giving him 3 more years. And the way that I look at it is this. You started a retooling of this roster and you are giving him an opportunity to see it through. And I can understand that rather than have somebody come in and pick up the pieces where you've already started moving assets and players around to kind of fit what the vision that you want to remake this team into. I can understand giving AK and saying, hey, now let's see what you do with it. You got all your draft picks, you got cap space, and you got players that you want on this roster now. Go out and show me what you can do in the next 3 years. It's fair to say. It's just like, why do we keep rewarding players that stay in the middle? That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's tough because I feel like if you would have rewound this back to last year before we acquired Giddey and Matas, I'm like, get this man out of my city. I will say that I feel like those 2 acquisitions, they did a little something for me. I feel like at least we acquired 2 players that we could stand on as far as like a pillar standpoint. You know, we can build with those players. Maybe he got lucky, maybe he didn't. That's for anyone else to determine. But I want to see what if the 15-6 ending to last season, if that carries over, because if it does, then running it back with continuity was the right choice. But it's tough though. It's tough to, like you said, be excited about extending AKME and Billy Donovan because it's been bad, man. It's just been super mediocre. How do you both view the upcoming contract extensions with Io and Kobe, especially since AKME is aiming for 2026 free agency?
Well, the benefit of it is, a lot of the 2026 projected free agents are all about to start getting re-signed. Jaren Jackson Jr. is about to sign a $200 million deal. So, like, that plan of 2026 may be why we're hearing a lot of potential trades for the Bulls, like try to trade up for Haize Bailey or get Jalen Green, and that may be there. But the Bulls have the cap space. I've said it before. I did the numbers. I think if the Bulls were to sign Josh Giddey, Kobe, and Io all to $30 million contracts, which they're not all going to get that. I don't think Kobe's going to get a $30 million contract. But even if they were to invest $90 million in those players, the Bulls will still have $60 to $70 million in cap space in the summer of 2026. That's enough to sign one big free agent and get other things. So I think that's like they can keep them, but I can also understand that if you don't want to invest in that, if you have some doubt about the fit there, and if that's the case, then it is what it is. I realized this. I said this on my show the other day. We can't complain about AKME holding on to players too long and then think that means he's only going to trade players that we don't like P. Will or Javon Carter. No, there's going to be, if he's a GM that's staying ahead of the game, there are going to be some names that are moved that we like and want to see kept here. I'm more so than worried about what does the deal look like? What do you get back if that's the case? I don't want to see Kobe or Io go, but if you do, now I need to see what do you get back, because now you got to sell me on the fact that you got rid of a player that we like.
That's 100. Yeah, you worded that great, man, because I'm experiencing that a little bit with I'm doing this off-season series Rebuild where I talk about potential scenarios or under the ESPN trade machine, and people always get so mad. They get real pissed off when I trade Io or Kobe. But it's like, listen, you got to look at who I'm bringing back. I'm trying to look at it from their point of view. as much as I would like to say that Patrick Williams and Javon Carter are worth Kevin Durant, they're not. like
Yeah.
they're just not. You have to give up value to get value. I actually really liked that in your one of your last episodes, you saying all of that. So I want to know, like, how do you see Josh Giddey? Like, do you see him as a star? Like, do you think that he's a star? And obviously the definition of that is yours to, I guess expound upon.
Not yet. And that's not a knock on Josh Giddey. But to me, for somebody to be a star, I have to see it consistently. And while Josh Giddey finished the season amazingly strong, and I want to be clear here, and I like to, there's something I like to do is I like to hold players against what they say for themselves. Josh Giddey said that what we saw last season was more close to who he is as a player. That's great. That means that's not my expectation. That's your expectation for yourself. So if he lives up to that expectation, he's absolutely a star, but I got to see it more consistently. I said it in the Discord earlier. I don't know if you were in there, but like, I have been a Bulls fan for my whole entire life. I saw when John Salmons for 65 games put up 25 and 5 and got a long-term contract and fell off afterwards, right? I saw that. So
John Salmons.
Yeah, so I don't, and that people call me cynic for that, and that's fine. It is what it is. Call me what you will. And that's not just for Josh Giddey. That's for everybody. I said the same thing about Kobe. What Kobe did at the end of the season was great. What he did for a large chunk of the season prior was good. I need to see it consistently. I can't call somebody a star until I can trust you to do that day in and day out. Now, I think he's an extremely talented player. I absolutely think he's somebody that you can build with. I'm not with the camp that people who think you should get rid of Josh Giddey because of XYZ. No, he should be here. But for you to be a star, you got to show it to me for a little bit longer. That's all I can say.
That's fair, man. That's super fair. I'm a big Giddey fan, but I also agree. Like you want to see it over the stretch of an entire season. Like, that being said, if what you said makes a lot of sense in terms of what his expectation of himself is, for him to come up to the podium and say, this is the way that I am actually, and it's everything that happened after the All-Star break. Okay, bet. Like, that's the expectation then. And if he's a 20-point triple-double guy, like, I don't know how he's not a star, because that's what he's saying he is. He says he's a 20-point triple-double guy, so we'll see. I also love that he embraced the fact that he's not ever going to be a lockdown defender. I think he gets a little too much flack, actually. I know his on-ball defense isn't the best, but he's got good instincts. He does steal the ball. Like, you don't get 8 steals in a game if you don't know what you're doing on that end of the floor. So I have a question here from my pops. What is your take on the Billy D extension and his approach so far? Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I did not answer. Sam, you asked me as well about the Kobe and Io thing. Real quick, I think you can I'm pretty mirrored with Haize on this, and you can resign all of them. I think that I'm more inclined, if I have to trade somebody, I'm more inclined to trade Kobe because I think that he brings you back the most value. With that being said, I'm good with running it back with what we got. Like, I'm an optimistic fan. I buy into the 15-6 ending more than I think most people do. And I think, if all of these players take a step forward in their development like they did last year, then I think there's plenty to be positive about. So to me, it depends on how. I don't think we're trading either of them before the start of next year. So it all, to me, depends on how we begin that year, because if we come out of the gates like guns blazing, winning games, like, don't change anything. Like, keep them together. But it'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. My pop's question is, what's your take on the Billy D extension, his approach so far, coaching up this young crew and new Bulls play with pace strategy?
Billy Donovan is a catch-22, right? Because, like I said, he's not a horrible head coach. I will argue anybody down that tries to say, oh, Billy Donovan is the worst head coach in basketball. He's not. He's not horrible. He's not great either. I think you can upgrade from Billy Donovan. But much like I said with AK, I try to take a rational approach. He's the coach, like, to his credit, he completely changed the Bulls play style last season, and they were successful in it. When you go and look at some of the places where the Bulls had a top 10, top 12 defense, when we had like one really good on-ball defender, you can't ignore coaching that has an an effect on that. Like, some people like to give coaching all the issue when things aren't working, but then ignore them and then ignore the acclaim that comes when team has a little bit of success. It's like, no, Billy Donovan has had part of that. Like, and I like to be reasonable. I will reasonably say that Billy Donovan has done some good coaching things, but with that, there's still some things on his adjustments. how much he's gotten outcoached against other coaches when it comes down to X's and O's basketball. Those type of things are a huge concern when you're talking about wanting to be a successful team down the stretch. So that's there. Like I feel like, all right, you changed this. He came in last season. He changed the shot clock in preseason to a 20-second shot clock through training camp. I think that did help the team get to that pace early, get conditioned very early, and I got to give him credit for that. But at some point, and hopefully, and it may not be until the Bulls are winning consistently, I do think at some point the Bulls are going to have to realize this isn't the coach that can get us over the hump. The problem is we haven't even got to the hump yet. So maybe they're looking at it that place, and maybe that's the issue there.
So is it fair to say that he's Doug Collins?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Billy's a solid coach, man. I think I just don't. It's his in-game stuff that drives me nuts. His rotations will forever drive me nuts. He's not consistent with them. I feel like he must communicate it with the players though, because they don't ever complain about it. So I don't know. But I'm with you. I think that he's better than people give him. Like he gets a lot of flack, but he's also been working with some pretty like flawed rosters. I mean, the one time, running with DeMar, Zach, and Vooch, when they didn't have Lonzo, they were a mess, and it was very clear. So, I feel like he's done the best he can by making lemons into lemonade. But I also agree with you that I feel like at some point, if we're winning games, we got to maybe take someone else to take us to that next level.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just real quick wanted to comment on this. To give up value to give value, that doesn't work for the Lakers. Yeah. The Lakers get to do whatever they want, but
yeah, you're talking about. I spent the better part of the first 2-3 months of the season saying nobody's going to bail the Lakers out. The Lakers are going to have to swallow their medicine. They're going to have to finally be bad for a while. Nobody's bailing the Lakers out this time. And then waking up one day to Luka Doncic's been traded to the Lakers, I was like, all right, well, this is why the Lakers are just always going to, you can never bet against the Lakers at this point. Like it is what it is, man.
Yes, they are inevitable. They're literally Thanos. Is there any hope at all for Patrick Williams?
Yeah, just not here. Look, it's just not. Sometimes players need to change the scenery, right? Maybe they need a wake-up call. And I will say this, Patrick Williams has the skill. It's all mental with P. Will. If P. Will ever wakes up mentally, I do think that there's a really good NBA player there. I'm not saying a star or anything like that, but I think there's a really good NBA player as a 3-and-D player in a modern NBA. I think that's there. Unfortunately, at this point, I think that the Bulls can't wait on that anymore. Yeah, he still has 4 years left on his contract, but I think that when you see a player like Modest, who came in and took P. Will's starting spot, he did not get any more shots. For a long time, people were like, well, P. Will needs more shots. He just needs 10 to 12 shots a game. Hell, I said that after a year or two with P. Will.
Yeah.
But Modest came in, got the same 9 shots per game than P. Will got, and averaged 13 points, more rebounds, more block shots, and you just felt his impact on the game more. That's why it's not just about the stat sheet. It's not just about some arbitrary number of shots. When that's not your role, you have to find other ways to impact the game of basketball. That's where P. Will has not made his mark at. And so because of that, I think like even players like Jalen and Julian, they're more hungry than P. Will at this point. And so if P. Will doesn't wake up, I think it's time to move on.
That's a great point, man. I feel like, at this point, it feels like Jalen and Julian are like just better versions of Patrick Williams. Like, and it shouldn't be that way. You line them up next to each other. Like Patrick Williams, he looks like he should be a superhero. And the dude is just once in a while, he'll bust out that athleticism and try and yam on someone from the free throw line. And I'm like, okay, where is this all the time, buddy? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You got to get him pissed off. Like, I don't know what his secret is, but we got to get him mad all the time. Undisputed says, if we took a wing like Bryant or an Essengay, would Haize be down to try and get an early second or late first for Yang? I don't know much about Yang. I'd love you to tell me about him, actually.
Yang is an extreme. I talked about him on the episode that's going to drop soon. He's extremely raw. But when you look at him, like the instincts, you could see them being there. He has the legit size. And I could see it working. Like he's going to be one of those players that it either works or he's going to be a bust. I don't think there's any in between where he's just a decent NBA player. And so because of that, like he's going to be a project. You're going to have to invest 1 to 2 years of just development before you're really ready to bet on him and give him like a lot of minutes and stuff like that. And so because of that, I just think that there are players that are more ready that you can get more for sure out of. And that's where I'm at with the Bulls. The Bulls have taken so many shots on possibles that I wouldn't be mad if they got Yang in the second round, because I think if you trade into the first round, there are tons of players I would want to take before Yang that are kind of more proven. But in the second round, I wouldn't be mad at it, because if it doesn't work out, it's a second round pick. But I just don't know if the Bulls are ready to invest what they're going to need to and be as patient with him as they're going to need to for him to adjust to the NBA game, adjust to the NBA physicality and the speed of the game before you throw him out to the deep end.
That makes sense, man. Okay. Love that. What about Rocco?
Rocco is a lot more. Rocco's still raw too, and he's still going to be a project too, but he's a player that I think that is like you maybe 1 year. You're talking about investing in development, and then I think he'll be ready to go. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I do think he's going to be a solid player that's going to use his size for and length for rebounding, block shots, and to be a lob threat. And I think that's going to be a really good floor for him.
Okay. Hell yeah. Horns Over Hoops has this: give a percentage chance that the Bulls trade up in the draft.
5%. I don't think they trade up. I don't think they trade up or down. I get it that there's a lot of talk to be made around it. And I think that the Bulls they shouldn't really be willing to give up the assets to trade up in this draft unless you're trading into the top 3 or 4. If you're trading into the top 3 or 4, then if you give up the 2026 first to get in there, I'm not necessarily as mad at it. If you're trying to aim for a Trey Johnson or Ace Bailey, I'm not necessarily as mad at it. But I just don't think trading up is really going to be beneficial to the Bulls with where they are right now. And I think that teams are going to be looking for a lot to trade if you're trying to trade up in this draft. And I just don't think the Bulls are ready to pay that price.
That's fair. Yeah, especially we just got back all of our capital. Like it'd be nice to have a full cupboard for a little while at least. But I wanted to ask you about Maxime Reynaud and Ryan Kalkbrenner, because it's these two guys that I've focused in on an episode recently. Mm-hmm. And I felt like they produced a lot at the college level, which I know doesn't always translate, but I am a fan of production because, like you were saying, you can always project, but sometimes projection is like just it's all that it is. It's projection, and those guys never get there. I wanted to know if you put any stock in the fact that like Maxime Reynaud was a 20-10 guy in college, or the fact that Ryan Kalkbrenner was blocking 3 shots a game in the Big East. Does that move you at all?
Absolutely. For where their draft position is going to be, like if the Bulls can trade back in and get a late first round pick, those are 2 guys. When I was talking about the 2 guys a few guys I'd rather them take above Yang, those are 2 guys I'd rather take above Yang. I think both of them have a way higher floor. I think even if they end up not being like some high level starter for you at the NBA level, that those are 2 guys that have enough skill and realize skill that they're going to have a role for themselves carved out in the NBA right away. And I think you at that point, I don't know if they're going to be your starting center, but I guarantee you they can both be backup centers for a long time, and maybe a chance to start depending on the makeup of the roster. So I like both those guys a lot. Kalkbrenner probably a little bit more than Maxime, but I wouldn't be mad at either one of those guys.
Hell yeah. I really like Kalkbrenner. I don't know what it is. He has some really good instincts on the defensive end, and I'm really big right now on a rim protector. So, and then him having like 7 foot, I think it's 7'6" or is it 5? One of those wingspan. So he's a long dude as well. So, and I think he shot really well at the combine. And that was what the question everybody had was, is he going to be able to space the floor in the NBA? Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious with him. I feel like a contender is going to get him, and he's going to play really well for them. Like selfishly, I hope the Lakers don't get him in case we want to trade them Vucevic, because I feel like the Lakers could use him. I feel like he'd go out there and he'd play well off of those guys. So
I agree.
Let's see. Facts 26 draft's going to be fire. If they go with a guard, who do you like? I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Probably Cedric Coward.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, Cedric Coward I like a lot. And Trey Johnson I like a lot as well, but I don't think Trey's going to be. We're not going to be anywhere in the realm of be able to draft Trey.
Yeah, I would love Trey Johnson. He's like, do you like Trey Johnson or Ace Bailey more?
Oh, that's a great question. The upside of Ace Bailey I like better. But as we know, AK and Eversley really don't sign or draft guys with character concerns. And I think this whole thing has turned into a character concern with him like refusing to work out. So I'd say, and honestly, I think either one fits, but like Ace Bailey is more seamless fit if we're keeping everything the same. Josh Giddey, Kobe, you put in Ace Bailey between Kobe and Modest Buzelis. I think you're off to the race. You still need to find your future center, but I like that. If you get Trey Johnson, I think that means that Kobe White is gone. Yes. And I'm not necessarily saying that's the wrong decision, but I definitely think that I don't see a world in which you can have Trey Johnson on your team and Kobe White.
That makes I say that because I feel like if we were going to move up to 3, I feel like you could maybe dangle Kobe White for that sort of return. And then because I really like Trey Johnson, I think I feel like he could be easily the best scorer in this draft when it's all said and done. He fills it up, man. He's got such a silky offensive game. That being said, though, like I'm good with, like I said, I'm good with keeping Kobe. Let's see. If we trade Vooch this offseason, who do you think will be our starting center? Will it be Jalen Smith, Collins, or someone else?
I think Zach Collins. I think when you look at what Zach Collins did through that stretch when he was starting for Vooch, when Vooch was out, I think Zach Collins is a perfectly fine filler starter center while you wait on your next starting center to develop. I think he'll be perfectly fit for that. Jalen Smith, for some reason, I don't know what it is about Billy Donovan. Like, Billy Donovan signs these really good backup centers and then doesn't use them for real. Andre Drummond averaged 14 minutes per game while he was here. You basically did the same thing to Smith. I don't understand it.
Yes, Smith is so productive when he's on the floor. His PER is over 18. Like, it's the second highest PER that we have on the team. You could say what you want about those, analytics and everything, but he produces when he's on the floor. I wish we would run big more often. I wish that I would like to see them slide Matas down once in a while to the 3, bring Jalen Smith at the 4, and then a guy like Zach Collins or Vooch at the 5 and see how that works. Because I really like Jalen Smith. I felt bad that he couldn't get on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, to be honest with you. Like, I get it towards the end of the season. I think he was dealing with some injury when he had like all the huge ice bags on his knees. But even earlier in the season, I don't understand what was happening there.
Oh, big take from here. Concanopoulos is better than Trey Johnson.
He's not better. He doesn't have, he doesn't have more upside than Trey Johnson. I think that Trey Johnson, as a catch and shoot player, as a pure scorer, he has more upside than that. Con has a higher floor, though. I'll definitely say that. Con, I don't see a world. I said this once, and this may be a hot take. Con is one of the players that if I'm betting on any player in this draft is going to be a starter on the championship team, I'm betting on Con because I think he has that game that fits into any team. He's a great shooter. He can put the ball on the floor. He's the type of player that every championship team has, whether they're starting or coming off their bench. I would absolutely bet on Con to be a contributor to a championship team more than anybody. And the reason, even more than Cooper Flagg, and the reason why I say this is because you're going to build a whole team around Cooper. It may take a while. We've seen a lot of very talented players that have teams built around them that never win a title. Shout out to AI, shout out to Carmelo, right? But I think for a player like Con, who is a complementary piece, who he can be a complement to any star in the NBA, he can complement that player. He's going to get a title when it's all said and done.
That's fair, man. I feel like this actually might be an insult to Con, but he reminded me a lot of Kevin Huerter when I was watching him. It was just like a guy that's just a high IQ basketball player. Makes the right plays, always knows when to pick and choose his moments. I think that Con is a higher version of Kevin Huerter, but the same kind of guy. Because Huerter averaged, I think, +8 plus minus for us after the All-Star break, and to me, it was all about just him always knowing how to make the right basketball play. Which is funny because when he got traded to us, everyone called him the Tank Commander. Because that first game that he had with us was
the first couple. I think were very rough for him. I think the first couple were rough, but he found his way. That's why I'm really excited. Like, if they don't make any changes to the team, I'm excited to see what they look like with having a full training camp together, because I think they really built some chemistry over that last part of that season. Absolutely,
I agree with that, man. I wonder what we do if a curveball like Maluach falls to us. You draft him.
Yes. If Maluach is on the board when you draft, come on, Maluach. Even if you draft him to trade him and move down, even if that's the ploy, but you draft him. Like, you need a center. Because that again, he's not slated. He was never slated to fall that far. Now, recently in some mocks, he started to fall down lower, but like, we're talking about a guy who, for the majority of the season, people were talking about him as a top 4, top 5 pick in this draft. You draft him if he's there at 12.
Yeah, I mean, God, please give us another guy that we because Matas was supposed to be the same thing, right? That happened to us 2 years in a row. Maybe the basketball gods are finally starting to smile on Chicago just a little bit, man, just a little bit. Uh, so I want to ask about next year, man. Do you see this team? Let's say that we just drafted a guy. Let's say we draft Thomas Horber and we don't change anything else. Do you see this team repeating the success of this year in terms of like we're just going to go right back to the play-in, or do you see better or worse for us?
I think that this team has the chance. And like I said, a lot of it's based on how much can they replicate what they did at the end of the season. Even if they can give 80% of that. I think people forget, like, at the start of the season, we were on pace to win 29 games. We finished the season with like a 51 game win pace. If you fall somewhere between the middle of that, you're looking at 39, 40, 41-ish, 42 wins. I think that if the Bulls have a really good chance to get there, if what we saw last year was legit. So I'm going to say the Bulls are better. I'll say that they're still probably the 7th seed at best, unless things go really well for us. But I got the Bulls trying to compete to avoid the play-in, but they still barely be in that play-in.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a great spot for them. I feel like we're going to at least be. I think that we're going to be better than we were this year as a whole on the season. But I agree. I don't know if we're maybe going to be able to get to that 6th seed because the East is it's a weird conference where like nobody is dominant, but everyone is pretty good. Like, so it's gonna be tough to get into the top 6 because then you're talking about you got to knock Detroit out or someone else like of that caliber, and it's gonna be tough because they've got good building blocks too over there in Detroit. As much as that pisses me off, if Maluach and Queen are available at 12, who do you pick and why? I mean, I'll let you take this. Haize.
Man, so here's the thing, right? Derek Queen doesn't fit this team with what the makeup that we have is. He just doesn't. We have 2 ball dominant players in Kobe White, Josh Giddey. Derek Queen is another ball dominant player. You will be very hard pressed to find a team with 3 ball dominant players, none that are great off ball players or 3-point shooters, and find success in that, right? So if the Bulls plan on moving Kobe, then it's Queen. If they don't plan on moving Kobe, it's Kaman Maluach. I know people want a straightforward, just give me one answer, Haize. It's like, no, because I think it's so contextual based off where the direction of this team is going. If the Bulls know they're moving Kobe, Queen. If they know they're keeping Kobe, Maluach. That's where I go in that case.
Interesting. So the presence of Kobe changes your mind when it comes to Queen. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that just because of how much Queen needs the ball in his hands? Like, okay. Okay, that's fair. I do think Queen is going to be a really good NBA player. I just don't know if he, like you said, I feel like we have to change the way that our team is a little bit. Like we would have to slow it down. I feel, because I feel like he's more of a half court. He's a Zebo. He reminds me of Zebo. He's like a deliberate, like give him the ball, let him work. He's gonna take him a bunch of that shot clock, but he's gonna be a great. I think he's gonna be a great player in the NBA. But I personally would want kind of on Maluach. For me, I would like. I think Maluach he checks more of the boxes that I want to see checked. I think he's a better rim protector, and that for me is a big deal. I'm so tired of watching us get scored on easily at the rim while Vucevic is just like looking somewhere.
Unless it's Jokic. For some reason, he's one of the best defensive centers in the league when he faces off. Have you ever looked at Jokic versus Vuce numbers? Look at it. He's one of the best defenders of Jokic in the league, bro. It's crazy. Like, legitimately, I don't know what unlocks him when he plays against Jokic. I think Jokic averages like 13 points a game against Vuce. It's ridiculous, bro.
That's wild. I you know what? Keep taking them out to dinner, Vuce, because I know that they always go and get dinner when Jokic comes to town. I think that I heard that. So he's getting into his head, man. He's putting something in his meal. But I got a question from Zanoa here. He said, "Do you think OKC wins the championship tonight?"
Tonight, no. I think that the Pacers are a really good home team. Whether Tyrese plays or not tonight, I think that they are going to be really amped to do it for Tyrese, or because they're at home if Tyrese is playing. I think this goes to a Game 7, and that's a little bit of selfishness because when's the last time we got a Game 7 in the finals? I need that.
I love that. I would love that, especially because, I mean, I just love this series. 2 teams that did not pay the tax, 2 teams that built through continuity and through doing things the quote-unquote right way. I've really enjoyed it, especially to maybe slide the conversation towards what someone is going to – I think he said, I'm anti-tank. I love this series because this is the anti-tank series. This is a series of stars that were drafted later in the draft, drafted all around the place. I mean, I think the Pacers don't even have a top 5 pick on their roster, if I'm not mistaken.
Where was Miles Turner? I don't remember. I think they
He
have
was
a
11.
top. He was 11, so they may not. They may not.
I mean, it's a lot of fun to me. I love it because I'd love to know. Just give me your stance on tanking. With Undisputed's anti-tank message up here.
Oh, I'm anti-tank too. Like I don't think that you tank. I think that it sets a bad precedent. The only way that you tank is that you have no player on your roster is players that you plan on being on your roster after a year or two. Then maybe you tank, right? But if you have any young players that you're trying to develop, you go out there and play hard, man. You go out there and play, and you don't artificially try to limit it. And the way that things are going, we're seeing teams that didn't tank be rewarded with the number 1 overall pick. So maybe the basketball gods are looking fairly upon that.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really seen a team. I mean, even the Sixers, they like purposely put out some of the worst basketball that you would ever watch for like 5 years, and all they got from that is Joel Embiid, and he can't even suit up for them anymore. Like I think Nerlens Noel was the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
The guy that went to Orlando, I can't remember his name right now, the guard, but they just ended up doing a whole lot of nothing with a whole lot of losing. I just don't think in a proud sports city like this, you can't. I could see a team like the Charlotte Hornets doing it, but we're the Chicago damn Bulls, man. Like, have a little respect for the history. I don't know. He wants to know if Vooch is Batman because he's the Joker stopper.
Basically, so I looked it up. So Jokic against Vooch averages 17, 10, and 9. But that went up because the last game he scored 33 against him. But you take away that game, it's been pretty. Again, it's still great numbers, but it's a lot pedestrian when you look at what Jokic averages for his career. So,
absolutely. Oh yeah, Markelle Fultz. That was who that was.
Oh yeah, Fultz. Yeah,
real easy to forget about Markelle Fultz.
They could have had Jason Tatum.
They could have had Jason Tatum. I mean, and that's the thing, man. There's so many examples of that throughout the draft where it's like, yeah, these guys get top 5 picks, but it's so easy to miss still. Like, you just don't know. Do your homework. Like, I think that we're going to end up with the best player in the draft from last year, and he was drafted at pick 11. So, I know that I'm biased, but Matas has huge upside. I actually want to know, do you see him becoming an alpha? Do you think he can become an alpha?
I think he has the mentality. I think he has the raw skill. I think he just has a long way to go. Like, some people like to talk about Modest as if he's already there, and he's not. Like, he doesn't shoot the ball effectively yet. He has not put the ball on the floor effectively yet. Everything he does is either at the rim or at the 3-point line. Now, do I think he has a lot more than what he's shown? Yeah, we just talked about. He basically stepped into the P. Will role. So I'm not expecting him to get a whole lot of that in his rookie year. So looking at how Billy Donovan now better incorporates him into the scheme is going to be really important, and how he steps up, because he's going to have to get better in those areas if he wants to be that alpha. But he has the mentality, he has the work ethic, he has the desire to be an alpha. So Modest is the type of player that you trust that he's going to max out on his potential, because he's going to put in the work to get there.
Exactly. And I think that's why I'm so high on him. It's a combination of all those things. It's the character, asking Billy to be hard on him. And then Billy was extremely hard on him, and he never complained, not once. Like, quick hook and all that stuff. He's got the makeup, man. He's got that swag. He's got that Chicago swagger in him. And he's also he's got all the tools. So I believe in where he's going to go. I agree with you. Whatever his potential is, he's going to reach that. We'll see how high that is. But we're at the time limit here. I'm going to let you go, Haize, but I want to let you know that it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we're definitely going to do this again soon. And I'm really looking forward to the draft, looking forward to seeing all your coverage of it. And again, thank you for coming on with me.
Thank you for inviting me, man. And feel free, because we'll be live for so long for the draft. I'll send you the link. Feel free to hop in.
Awesome, man. I'd love to do that. I'm definitely going to plan on doing that then, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
You too. Take it easy, y'all.